Hi, and welcome to the second hour of this Friday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk. It is Free for All Friday, Casual Friday, as your humble host can attest, as I wear an open collar. I don't even know what to call this. It's just a long sleeve, I don't know, polo type shirt or tennis type shirt or rugby type shirt or something like that. So feel free to dress down. Free for All Friday. Now, we got some people called in and have been waiting, so let's grab a couple of phone calls before we jump into new content. Let's go to Jim, Spring Hill, Florida. Jim, thanks for calling. Thanks for waiting. What's on your mind?
Thank you for having me, Brian. And I'm the same guy that called you 2 days ago and told you that I think that Obama is a dictator. And I'd like to further that by saying, has anybody ever looked into what Ambassador Stevens was doing at the time that this all happened? Had he badmouthed the president by any chance? I mean, it seems like it's awfully strange that they would, like you said, let him go like the way of Uriah.
Well, and I appreciate the call, Jim, and I'll tell you what I think is going on there. This is my suspicion. I'm not sure that we'll be able to prove this, but I strongly suspect there's more evidence now that it's called a consulate, but it was not technically a consulate. I forget what the technical term, but the Obama administration has been very careful not to call the place where Ambassador Stevens was a consulate. They're calling it something else. I don't know, diplomatic compound or something like that. And what they're suggesting is that one of the reasons why there was no security there is that what Ambassador Stevens was doing is he was running a gun-running operation out of that facility. In other words, that's where he was hooking up with Muslims in Syria and getting weapons to them and ammunition and guns and RPGs and shoulder-fired missiles, all the stuff that was left unguarded when we removed Gaddafi from power. Remember, we talked about it at the time. All of his munition supplies, weapon supplies, were left completely unguarded at that time. People were coming up with pickup trucks, loading up weapons in the back of their pickup trucks and driving off. There was no security. There was no control. And the suspicion is, and I believe there's every chance that this is correct, that this was a fast and furious operation that was going on here to get guns to the Syrian rebels who were trying to overthrow Assad. By the way, Christians do not want Assad to be overthrown in Syria. They are safer under Assad than they will be under the jihadists, under the Muslim fundamentalists, just like they were safer under Saddam in Iraq. They didn't want Saddam to go, and they've been run out of that country. Half of the Christian population flat disappeared in Iraq. And you know where a lot of them went? A lot of them went to Syria. Why did they go to Syria from Iraq? Because it was safer under Assad for them than it was in Iraq. So now we're running Assad out, and these poor Christians have got no place to go. And if we're gonna provide refuge for anybody, it ought to be for Christians, especially in the lands where we are the power that's making life more dangerous for them. We're responsible for that. And I'm not saying we didn't have a right to do it. I think we should have gone in to Iraq because our best intelligence was that he represented a threat to our interests. So let's go in. Let's neutralize Saddam, and then let's leave. Take him out and tell the Iraqis, look, you don't want us to come back, then don't give us another Saddam. Don't give us a reason to come back here. Don't make me come down there because it's not going to be pretty if we do. But the reality is Saddam needed Christians because they were the only civil servants he could find who were trustworthy, dependable, and wouldn't try to rob him blind. So he actually had a reason to kind of protect them in order to run some kind of stable, orderly administration that was as free as you could get from corruption in a Muslim land. Now, I don't know if Assad depended on Christians at all in Syria, but he provided some level of stability and protection for them. Now, with him on the run and being chased, that's all gone. And so Christians now are being harassed. They're being murdered in Syria. And I think if we're going to provide a refuge for anybody, it ought to be for Christians around the world, particularly when our actions, whether justified or not, have put them in harm's way. We ought to go out of our way to provide a refuge for them. We are a Christian country. We're a Christian country by birth. We're a Christian country by heritage. If we're going to provide refuge for anybody, it should not be for Muslims who bring a completely different set and contradictory set of values, but to provide a refuge for Christians who are being chased out of Muslim countries by these jihadists. Now, I got no idea. How did I get off on that? Where did I start in this deal? I have no. Oh, we were talking about Ambassador Stevens and the gun running thing. Yeah, there was some kind of a logical connect the dots string in there somewhere. So let's play one more soundbite, Rob, while we can before we go back to the phones. Let's grab clip number 5. Going back to the Petraeus thing just for a second. This is Dana Rohrabacher. He's speaking yesterday in this hearing that they had about what went on in Benghazi. And what came out yesterday in this hearing, House Intelligence Committee, is that in point of fact, the administration, intelligence community knew that this was not a mob reaction to a movie. And here Dana Rohrabacher tells it like it is. Let's listen.
What is clear is that this administration, including the president himself, has intentionally misinformed, read that, lied to the American people in the aftermath of this tragedy. Now, President Obama has the gall to name as possible Secretary of State the name of the person who is the actual vehicle used to misinform the American people during this crisis.
So Dana Rohrabacher saying, look, President Obama lied. You know, the other guy, that Dutch Ruppersberger, this is Dana Rohrabacher, those guys ought to look on, what those parties ought to do is look at electing people with shorter names. I mean, you got to get a pronunciation guide for these guys. Dutch Ruppersberger from Maryland and Dana Rohrabacher from California. But the point is here that the Democrat guy, this Dutch Ruppersberger, say, hey, if she went up there and lied, what's the big deal? Who cares about that? That doesn't matter to me. That's not an issue. Whether she told the truth, that's no issue. But it is for Dana Rohrabacher because the Republican Party is the party of values, and telling a lie to the American people is actually a big deal if you have a certain set of moral values. Now, Petraeus, I mentioned, there was real tension in the CIA his last week. I think that's why they ran him out, because he was threatening to go public and tell the truth, because he was being made to look like the bad guy here. And he said, look, our intelligence from day one, this was a terrorist thing. And it's time we get out there and clear the air. We're being beat about the head and shoulders here as if this is all our problem, as if we're misleading the administration. We're not. We told the truth from day one to the administration. Now, Petraeus went up on the 14th, 3 days after the attack, knowing this was a terrorist attack. He went to Capitol Hill and he lied. He perjured himself. So he's got an issue there. He's going to have to deal with that. But now we are told that the CIA is investigating Petraeus, and the news that he's under investigation. They want to look into his affair with Paula Broadwell. Did he misuse funds? Did he misuse government resources? So now they're going after him. Why are they doing that? Because he's making the administration look bad. So this is payback time. And I think that's one of the reasons why Petraeus is just going to go out there and tell the truth. These guys are trying to kneecap him. They're trying to take him out. They're trying to take him down. Now, if they're investigating misuse of public funds and resources, now you're talking criminal stuff that could put him behind bars. And I think Petraeus said, enough of that. I'm just going to tell the truth and let the chips fall where they may. Focal Point AF for Talk. We'll be back with more content, more of your phone calls, 888-589-8840. Stay with us.